And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Joey Riom, Dave Bartlett, and Pete Goslaw, and a duo sponsor, it's a special guest tonight, Dr. Hal Cohen and Mr. Bob McKenney. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hey,
we're excited.
This is a first for us, having 5 screens. It's pretty cool. Maybe we'll try 3 next time. Who knows? But hopefully this is going to be an enjoyable show for a lot of people. Section 10, part of our Section 10 family here, both from Canton. I'm hoping everybody learns something, including me. I'm very honored for you guys to come on the show.
Well, thanks for having us. We're big fans of the show, especially the Brittany Cohen segment. That was outstanding. Wait a minute. Hold on. Have I got that Potsdam thing on there?
Yeah. Yes, Doc. You're doing a good job recruiting. Yeah, no, this is exciting. It's always fun to go back to the hometown and the home country. And we were born and bred in Canton, and Al and I have been best friends since we were 5, 6, 7 years old, I think.
Yeah.
About, what are we, 29 now? So about 20 years. 20.
That's not that
Well, guys.
I think it was 3rd grade that I met you and Ferg.
Yep.
I think it was 3rd grade in elementary school.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember the first thing you said to me was, "I'm better than you."
I'm pretty sure you said, no, you're not.
Well, guys, we're going to let you go.
You, Doc.
We're going to let you go. The first thing we want to say before you guys start telling your stories, because it seems pretty obvious to me you guys are ready to talk. So that's awesome. This show, when we created this show or brought it back 4 or 5 months ago when the COVID crisis hit, I mean, we're not going to lie. Pete, Dave, and I, we're basketball guys at heart. We are Section 10 basketball junkies at heart. We've all coached, played, and enjoyed every bit of North Country basketball. And to have the two of you on, I know Jerry Howerhand's going to be smiling tonight when I tell him that, if you guys haven't already told him, I've kept it a surprise from him. I didn't even tell him that we got you two on the same show. I know Jerry Welch is probably going to be smiling when he sees this one. So I think we're going to make a lot of people happy tonight with this hour and a half that we're about to go through. So, I guess where I'd like to start with you guys is, and you were starting there, is back in the days of growing up and ended up playing for Jerry Howerhand at Canton High School. So, how you guys want to attack it, go ahead. But, talk a little bit about those memories of playing for Jerry.
Well, for me, again, I met my 2 best friends in life, Bob McKenney and Jim Ferguson, in 3rd grade. And it was at that same time for me when we met Coach Howerhand, who was coaching, us as 3rd graders over at the old grammar school. Even though he was the high school coach, he was in the trenches with the 3rd graders. I think I played for the Royals or something like that, and it was like the greatest thing to put on a uniform or something, and just and play for him. And we knew we had something special when we started playing in the grammar school, and this guy comes in, and he was all enthusiastic about coaching and drills, and that was Coach Howerhand. And from the moment we met him, it was instantaneous, love for this guy, and we always wanted to play well for him, and it was an amazing time that we had with him.
Wow, Doc, you got a pretty good memory. Royals. I'm very impressed.
Mac, I don't remember everything, but I had 14 in that first quarter in that 3rd grade game.
Yeah, that wasn't against me though, Doc. Ferg was probably guarding you.
And I had 7 assists, but they took it one way from me. And they said I only had 6.
With
I
no
was on the
3-point
Knicks. At least I
line.
got the hometown team. You
I
might have
felt
kicked my
bad.
butt, but that's okay.
I felt bad for Ferg,
I
though.
can't
'cause
believe I even remember that after you said it.
I felt bad for Ferg because I was yelling, Ferg, outlet, and you were yelling, Ferg, outlet over here. Ferg didn't make that decision of who to throw it to.
He wasn't on your team then, no.
So progress from those 3rd grade days. I mean, so was Jerry right with you guys? I mean, all the way
Yes.
up, and I'm assuming there's got to be some stories from as moving forward. Toby Hanna stories, I'm
Oh, my
guessing.
God.
He had to have taken you guys to Toby Hanna.
What happens in Toby Hanna stays in Toby Hanna, let me tell you. If Coach knew we were on the show and talking about those days, he'd be horrified. Oh my gosh, we had, I mean, I guess what, 6th and 7th grade? Hell, 6, 7, it was 7, 8, 6, 7 that we went to Toby.
Yeah.
In that range, and we had, it was like that was our first road trip, and our parents driving us down. I think our mothers cried when they dropped us off, and we had so much fun. You know, we're down there with Goofy Moore and Jeff Trillian, and I can't even remember. We were the 2 young guys, and I mean, we saw some basketball talent down there at that time that we hadn't seen in early careers. It was really fun, but those are such great memories. And I ended up coaching there, and those are the stories I can't tell. Coach Irehan would have our coaching stories from the day.
No, I remember.
Yeah, that was.
I remember driving down in his Winnebago, and we all sat in the back. And we were playing cards, and that kind of how everything progressed from that time on to we were seniors, where we did everything together, and we played the gym was all summer long, and everything was done together, and that same group from 3rd grade on continued on to our senior year. We did have a couple of key transfers over the years, but for the most part, it was that same group with the Huntleys and Fergusons and Elmores and Gruno, and so it was just a great time. And Coach Howard was the center of it. And we always wanted to, at least from my standpoint, always wanted to impress him. So much so, I got to tell you, am I allowed to tell a story?
Oh, absolutely. More the merrier.
Well, I was very fortunate in that we lived on a little bit of our driveway was on a little bit of a hill, but our neighbor, kitty corner to us, had a big double driveway and it had a hoop up. And that was the Whitmans, Mr. and Mrs. Whitman. And unlike probably today, it would be crazy to have 20 kids come over to your house who didn't, come over to your house and play basketball. But
Al,
what?
quick question. You gotta be running for office, dude. You're name dropping really well right now.
I got
Great
a whole
job
list
getting
of-
everybody out there.
I got
I'm pretty
Schmilligan,
impressed.
I got Schmilligan, Ducharme, I got to get who else?
Wow.
Can you let me finish my story?
Well, I raised my hand.
Anyway, I knew Coach Howard would drive by my house. I was like in 7th or 8th grade. I knew he would drive by my house to go to summer school like at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I would get up like at 7:15, get dressed and get over to the court and start shooting baskets in hopes that Coach Howard would drive by and see me shoot. And then once he passed me, I'd kind of wave, and then I go back home and go get breakfast. Now you can go, Mac.
Oh, no, I just had that quick question, Doc. That's why he always told me to pass the ball to you?
What's that?
Is that why he always told me to pass the ball to you?
Yeah, you should have done that a little bit more, I think.
More? You led the state in scoring for 2 years, dude.
So,
Yes.
were you? So as you guys as teammates, starters in Hal shooting guard, Bob, were you the point guard?
When Hal let me.
I think
Yeah.
We were very flexible. We were very, we were, whoever got the ball first was the point guard. Who got second was the shooting guard. But I
I
must
could
say,
never figure out why doing. The one time he boxed out was on inbounds. He boxed me out.
well, I must say that about Coach McKenney. One of the reasons I was able to improve was he was the best defensive player I ever played against, and that is in high school, in college, and professionally. Wait a minute, I didn't play professional. Just in high school and college. In high school and college, he was the best defender, and we had some from third grade on battles in the gym, and it wasn't that friendly when we got into the gym and started playing against each other. And we had some close fisticuffs, although I don't think we ever had a fight. Mac?
I'll just leave it alone, Doc. I'll run with it.
Unless you want to mention the one about the boxing match.
Oh, you mean when you clobbered me after the bell?
Oh,
Technicality, if we go to the tape, I think it's near the bell.
Near.
You let these other guys get in?
What's that?
Can you let these other guys get into the show here?
Hey, gentlemen, it's your show. You do whatever you want.
it's your show.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here admiring it. So,
Yeah.
The problem is you might be the only 3 guys in the North Country that remember us.
there's plenty of guys that remember you.
We hosted the kids and girls, and I walked in. They were in a classroom, and they're, that's where we have them kind of set up for their pregame. And I walked in and I said, "Well, I'm from Canton," and they looked at me and were like, "Okay, that's great." I played with Hal Cohen. Oh, yeah. Is he the one with the picture on the wall? I said, yes. I'm all excited. Oh, wait. Are you who was it? Curtis? No. Was it Curtis? Who was the really good guard? Her grandmother was one of our classmates this past year. Oh, Mr. Chisholm's granddaughter.
Oh, yeah.
It was Mr. Chisholm's granddaughter. Oh, he was my football coach and my teacher. That's great. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, maybe people don't remember us so well at home. Oh, dear.
No, it's like the reason I think Coach McKenney really wanted to be on the show is because the North Country will always be, home. It's always be special. It was just unbelievable. I try to tell my daughters this, it was just an unbelievable place to grow up. And I'm sure you guys probably had the same situation, in the summers, you'd get up, get on your bike, get down to the grammar school, you played baseball, pick up baseball, and then you went to, you got on, then the bus came here, my next, a guy lived around my teacher, Mr. Eurasian, got to get him in there. We'd drive the bus out to the park to go swimming, then you swam all day, then you came back into town and you did something else, you went and played basketball or whatever, and then at 5, and then nobody was, looking for you or anything, you're out playing and just enjoying, just being a kid, and it was a lot of fun. What are you doing that for?
I'm pretty sure your mom was looking for you. I'm pretty sure Rosie was looking for you, Doc.
Get away with it. Ooh.
Pretty close eye on you. Well, actually, she probably had Stan looking for you.
I know. I was probably the only one that actually had to call. But for the most part, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, for the most part, it was a lot of fun, and it was just a great group of guys, and it was a great time to grow up, and
Yeah. It was a special time, and we
as Dave can attest, as Dave Bartlett can attest, and I'm sure Joey can too. Times have changed. When we were kids, like you said, Hal, right from the time we get done breakfast right to the dark, where everybody is running, doing something. The kids were always playing. We used to pedal 5.5 miles one way just to get to a family's farm where they cut out a patch for a baseball field, and we'd all play baseball up there, up at Fort Calhoun Center. So I know what you're talking about. And then we play pickup games down at the church school, and then the dam and brush. We have our own. Everybody has our own stories, but I think it's a lost thing now. That I drive around all the time. I really don't see a lot of kids out. It's too bad. It really is.
Yeah, the different
all on their phones.
Yeah, and the different games
on their phones. It is kind of funny though, growing up in the North Country. So I took my daughter back, and we had a little girls AAU. Actually, Hal and I started a little girls AAU thing for my older daughters. And my younger daughter, I went back and we played in a tournament in Madrid/Canton. So it was really fun. So I thought I was going to go for a run. I thought, well, I'll run. We were at the University Inn. I'll run, all the way to my house on Minor Street. That's got to be 2.5, 3, 4 miles. It was like a mile. Like I thought growing up, that was like so far away. Like Hal's house is so far away, and it's like not far at all. It's such a different perspective.
Yeah.
I think too, when you live in a city, everything is so far away and everything's so spread out. But I was like, I'm running. I'm like, there. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, it's only a mile to my house from the University. And needless to say, I had to extend my route a little bit. But yeah, it's a great place to grow up, and it has changed a lot. I think cell phones and the internet, it's changed our world. I don't think it's always for the best, but I mean, there's some good parts, obviously. But I don't know.
And also we had some
that was interesting.
No, I think growing up, we had some, obviously Coach Harham. We had a lot of great coaches. Like I mentioned, Coach Schmilligan. I got a shout out to Mr. Schmilligan and Ducharme and Mr. Audet. And who else do we have coaches, Mac? We had some very good mentors throughout the years.
Mr. Riggs, Mr. Chisholm, so many great coaches.
Mr. Casey in 6th grade.
Riggsy, Mr. Chisholm.
And just
Mr.
everybody
Ducharme.
Keeping you on the right track and doing everything together. We had some great teachers. We had, academically, I thought Canton High School was outstanding. And, going from high school to college, I never knew what to expect. And, when I got to college, I said, wait a minute. We already done this. We've done this in high school already, and so it really prepared you well for high school, for college. And so we had everything kind of going for us at that time. And Coach Harham was kind of the leader of the band. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, since
I think we look at. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bob. It's your show.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think for me, he's been like a second dad. I've been lucky with my dad. He passed when I was fairly young, and between Cohen and Coach, I had kind of a couple of guys in my life that for me to kind of look up to and cherish. So it's been pretty cool. And then I was lucky enough to get a chance to spend a year playing for one of the great tacticians, great basketball minds in the country when I played for Coach Welsh over at Potsdam. So I think for my coaching career, I am so thankful for the start I got from Coach Harhan and Coach Cohen. And, then I kind of got passed to Coach Welsh, who in terms of teaching the game probably broke the game. I've never played for a coach kind of broke the game down like Coach Welsh. So, I've been blessed for me, for someone that stayed in the coaching field, to have had a chance to learn and grow from such great people. And even Smills and Mr. Riggs and some of the guys who weren't necessarily the basketball guys, I think we all had so many life lessons from them that most of them good, but maybe a couple that weren't so good. I mean, we learned about the inn and the hoot owl in a couple places maybe we shouldn't have growing up, but geez, it was just a great honor.
Yeah, and
I consider myself blessed.
Yeah, and from my standpoint, again, my father,
Was that, Doc?
I'm just saying, from my standpoint, growing up, I with my father, with basketball, he was, my best friend, and I can't, from the very beginning, every time I had a game or either of us at a pickup game anywhere or, a high school or college game, he was always there to talk about the game and to go over the game and how I could get better. And it was funny. When I was moving, as I was saying, we moved to Charlotte, and my daughter is expecting our first grandchild, and we thought we would come down here and spend some time with her. But anyway, I opened this box of letters that I hadn't seen. I remember that I sent you that, Mac. All these letters I got when I was a freshman in college, and this typifies my relationship with my father. He just had such a great sense of humor and easy way about him, and he helped guide Coach McKenney through some tough times. But anyway, he wrote me this letter. It was my freshman year, and it was an inter-squad scrimmage at Syracuse, and he said, and I just read it. I hadn't seen it since what year was that? 76. I opened it, and it was just like, I was like this treasure. I found this letter, and it was 1976. Hal, he goes, I thought you played extremely well in the inter-squad scrimmage. And I'm like, wow, oh, well, thanks. I'm thinking, wow, okay. Must have been pretty good that game. And then after that, there were 10 pages of, if there was something else I would recommend you doing are the following. I think, and it was funny because it was like in the pregame warm up, if you find out who you're going to be guarding, in depth, find out who you're going to be guarding. If it's a small guard, do this. If it's a big guard, do that. And I just loved it. I just loved all those conversations, and so that was obviously, and that was very special, and obviously helped me throughout my career.
Yes, and this guy's pretty modest. I mean, I've been, blessed in my coaching side of my career to have coached just some great kids, some kids that have played, a couple that have got some time in the NBA, and some guys that have played overseas. I can honestly tell you that the most skilled, probably hardest worker I've ever been around is Hal. It was overwhelming as a young player because I thought I worked hard, and then I would see him work on a move with his dad, and then for 20 minutes, and then they'd work on the counter for 20 minutes. And with my attention deficit disorder, I lasted about 5. I'd have to go down to the other end and shoot a little bit just to get it out of my system. But to have a chance to grow up and have watched how his dad developed Hal and worked with him and broke things down, and then what a great play. People don't, I'm sure the kids today don't really remember what a great player Hal was. I mean, he wasn't the most athletic guy in the world, but other than that, he had no real weakness in the game. I mean, he hadn't practiced, and he was such a great scorer and great shooter. And it's interesting. If there'd been a 3-point line when we played, Hal I don't know where it would be, and it was back in the day when you couldn't play before 9th grade. And he only did that in 3 years, the points he put up. So, but the most important thing is that he's probably a better person than he ever was as a player. And so I got a chance to grow up with him and Jim Ferguson, and have 2 such great influences in my life. I needed that a lot in all this I've gone through in my life. So, but I don't think people realize what a great player Hal was, and how hard he worked at the game. I thought I worked at the game hard, and he took it to a different planet. So, that would be. I don't want to get them all soppy and all that, but I think that
let's hear some more.
I want people to learn from that is that they should understand how great he was. What was that, Al? Did I read that? All right. Did I read that? You sent me that. Did I read it correctly?
No, I think you also.
I was just kidding about the reading it.
We were also. I want to get this in here. We were also blessed with great mothers, right, Coach McKenney?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely, the best.
And his mother was the greatest, and my mother's the greatest, and I got the best. Dave Shea has the best. I got. If you guys see him, tell him I said this. There's a picture, and it's my favorite picture of all time. It was a sophomore year. We were playing in Ogdensburg, and it's the opening jump ball. And it's Donnie Goodwin and they had a big guy in Ogdensburg. I forgot his name. But they're going up for and all of us are, around the circle, but you could see the crowd and and this was at Ogdensburg, and all our families were there, because I never really knew where everybody sat or where everybody, so that was one glimpse into, who was sitting with who. My father was with Mr. McKenney or, Mr. Ferguson, my mother was with your mother. And it was just a great picture, just to see.
I was trying to figure out where the cheerleaders were sitting, Doc.
I knew that would come up.
That's a priority. Yeah.
That's always a priority.
That's right.
Well, it's funny because the cheerleaders would be on one side of the court and Coach McKenney would be diving into the crowd on that same side all the time.
Constantly.
Ball was nowhere around, but he was diving into the crowd.
Oh yeah. I was going hard in that cheerleading corner.
Yeah. So I know we get plenty of stories to tell about Coach Howard. I need to tell one, and Joey was there for this. Back in 2014, Jerry came on our show when we started this, and this is the funniest thing. And we've had quite a few people on the show. We used to do this in a bar setting, and we'd tape it live, and then we'd go to a commercial, and we'd have a couple snacks and a couple beverages. But anyway, so we get Jerry sitting down the table,
Coach,
and I'm getting all set up and of course Joey and I got our paperwork together, the questions we were going to ask him. He sits down with a binder and opens it up, and he's got every possible paper clipping, newspapers, and everything else, and pictures. Am I wrong, Joey? I mean, you remember that show? He opens it up. I said, "Oh, I thought maybe we were gonna interview you, Coach, but it seems like you're gonna." But he had so many tremendous stories. It was one of those interviews, guys, where it could have gone on forever. And as well as I do, Jerry is such a great man. And I just wish you guys would tell us a little more about that before we divulge back or dive back in to your stuff. But tell us a little more about Jerry Howard.
Well, I can tell one quick story about Coach McKenney and Coach Howard, because they had the same spirit, that same. They wouldn't back down with anybody, to anybody, and they had that same, just bulldog mentality. They just wanted to win so bad, and they had the same personality. So we were playing, I think it was Salmon River, up in Salmon River.
Oh, boy.
And Coach Mac, can I call you Mac? Mac gets a
that would be good. It might just as well. You're going to do it anyway.
Mac gets his fifth foul, and obviously fouls out of the game. And as he's coming off the court, somebody tosses him a towel, and he's
actually, I slammed the floor and got a technical, Doc.
Oh, did you really? I didn't know. You want to tell the story?
No, you can go from there.
Well, this is the way I remember it. So you caught somebody threw him a towel. He caught the towel and then just flung it. And as he flung it, he turned around and looked, and the towel hits Coach Howard smack in the face. And you got the look of Coach Howard and Mac was in fear of Coach Howard. What did he say to you afterwards, Mac?
I think he grabbed me right here, and I'm sure my toes were around when he said that'll never happen again. Yes, Coach. Okay. Yeah. Never happened again either. Yeah. That is a true story. But it was actually a technical. It was the only technical I ever got as a player. I hit the floor. It might have been my fifth foul. I don't even remember that. But, yeah. Yeah, Coach. So Coach had this grand idea. So at the end of our senior year, of course, Hal was kind of in transition with getting ready for Syracuse and back and forth a little bit. So he thought we could do a traveling basketball camp. Like, we would go to other schools and they'd pay us and we'd go up and he'd do the lecturing and I'd do the demonstrating and answer some questions about what it was like to play for him and play for Hal and that kind of stuff. And So we go to Clifton Farm, and we work for 3 hours. We put on a clinic. We got a lot of kids there. We go out. We're in the car, and coach goes, "Here's, they gave us whatever, $100, $150. Here's $60, Mac. For you. We'll stop and get some food." And of course, the drinking age was 18, and it was right near the end of our senior year. We're going to stop and have a beverage on the way home. And I got my wallet out, so I got 60, and I had $40 stolen out of my wallet. No, wait, I lost 60. I lost more than I made. So to this day we laugh when we get together. What? You're Mac. You remember we went to Clifton Pine? Yeah, coach. Yeah, that was a great trip. Worked my tail off. You made me dive on the floor in front of everybody, and I lost $20.
Lost money.
It cost you money.
Yeah.
I lost my money.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. It was just something special about him that we just didn't want to lose. But we didn't want to lose for ourselves, but we didn't want to lose for him. And he would get unbelievably fired up before games, and you just wanted to bust through the door to come out and play. And he just had a special way of getting you motivated, and I don't know. And then being able to go to his office and talk to him, or go to his house and talk to him about any problem he had, and so. Yeah,
one of the great motivators of all time, truthfully. You want to die for him, and then you knew he loved you. I think that's some of the young coaches today, they forget that it's important that you love your kids, and we all felt loved. I think from third grade, from the minute we met him, we knew there was just something about him. There was a fire, and he had that twinkle in his eyes when he was mischievous, and he was just a fun, great man to be around. And we were lucky to spend a lot of time with him. I was known for always being a little bit slow off the court. And so I had a little tradition. So I always had to go to the bathroom before I played, but I liked it to be private. So I chose the kind of could sneak in the athletic director's office on like game night, because he was usually in the gym. And so I would go in there. And so I was in there one night, and all of a sudden I hear the door slam, and coach comes in with one of our other players, and he may or may not have done something a little bit illegal earlier that day, and got caught, and his parents were in there, and I'm in the bathroom, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I knock? Do I say something? I'm literally like just sitting there. But what the funny part of the story was, Coach Dad come in, our athletic director. He leaves to go start pregame, and I'm stuck in the men's room in the athletic director's office, and I don't know what to do. He's doing pregame, and I'm sitting in there. They finally got done, and I don't even remember where they were. I go running in, and he's madder than heck at me for this. Bobby, where have you been? Coach, you're never going to believe this story. But I'm guessing we're down a guy tonight. I think I started though. I don't think I got withheld from my start. He wanted to win that night, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, guys, from that night that Pete was talking about, when Pete and I interviewed Jerry 5-6 years ago, I don't know if you can see this, but the yellow legal notepad that I like to do my notes on while I'm doing the show, and pretty much with my coaching. And I got that from Jerry. Jerry that night, in that big binder that Pete was talking about, at the end of the night, at the back of the book, there was 6 or 7 yellow pages, legal pages of plays and ideas and thoughts that he had written down. Joey, I'd like to give these to you. And I've kept them.
Wow.
And from that day forward, I decided if yellow legal notepad paper was good enough for Jerry, then that's good enough for me. He impacted me that way. So in him being a St. Lawrence Central graduate, he's always been a big part of my life, because me being the athletic director here, he always wants to know what's going on at his alma mater. And so I care about Jerry deeply, and I totally can understand why you guys care about him the same and couldn't wait to play for him, I'm sure.
That might be the ultimate compliment, Joey, that you continue to use that yellow notepad the rest of your career. I did a notepad for a long time. Then I switched. I created my own little sheet. I thought it looked cooler. I don't know. But
I'm
that's
just
awesome.
Yeah, I'm a hen scratcher. I just old school in that regard. But it was Jerry. Up until that point, I would just write on anything. But I said, you know what? I'm going to the yellow legal notepad paper. If that was good enough for Jerry, it's good enough for me.
I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess. You probably write every practice out. Oops, that was
Start.
you. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Well, and also,
Yeah, right.
we got to get Coach Welsh in here too. And,
Absolutely. That was
and
my next one.
first of all, Coach Harahan took us to this camp at Potsdam State. I forget when we were ninth grade, eighth grade, 11, all throughout high school. And my father worked the camp, and which he loved. That was the greatest time he had at that camp with that crew up there that they would always go to camp. And they just had a ball with Coach Myrna and the whole North Country crew. It was just and I think I may be wrong, but there might have been 500 kids there during a session, a week-long session, which was funny because I remember St. Lawrence would have a similar camp at the same time, and they had Pete Carrill from Princeton and Armand Hill, who was an NBA player, and there were not that many kids. There was maybe 20, 25 kids at that camp. Everybody went to the Potsdam camp, because all their coaches were going, and that was it was just a lot of fun. But Coach Welch, we were introduced to Coach Welch, so I had known him already, but we learned a lot about organization and time management. When we saw that at 8:04 we had to be here, and 8:07 we had to be. And the shooting drill would start at 8:19, and then it was, but that was just a lot of fun, and to get to meet also the other kids in the North Country at that camp. So, and Coach Welch was, an amazing coach, and he and my father, for years, were just a great team together. So, and actually, I just talk about stories. Man, I talked to Coach Welch a couple days ago, and he was actually checking up on my mother to see how she's doing. That's the kind of guy he is. He's calling me to ask me about my mother, how she's doing, and he's, talk about just on and on and on about different stories, going back and forth, and yeah, he was just a great coach and a fantastic person, I still remember. I can still remember, and I don't know if you teach this, Coach McKenney, but his saying was, "Men, be a good person. Be a good person before you're a good basketball player." I always say, "Be a good person." What do you remember about his sayings, Mac?
Be a good person.
I'm on your rights.
Yeah. Yell "hey" on every jump shot. We're going to drill that for 5 minutes every day until everyone yells "hey." When you're 5'7", that is not a fun drill because your shot gets blocked on every one dribble jump shot you take. Everything got broken down. He was one of the great coaches in the country. And the Division III level, then everybody in the country most of the country knows who he is, especially I think in coaching ranks. But he would be, no doubt in my mind, would be considered with all the top coaches. He was a phenomenal coach. It's a funny story because he recruited Hal, and he was so disappointed when Hal accepted the offer to go to Syracuse. He took me instead. Consolation prize. And the funny thing is, I transferred. So it was interesting. So I transferred after my freshman year, and from a professional standpoint, it ended up being a good move because I was able to be a phys ed teacher at, and that's kind of the direction I wanted to go. Even though my dad was adamant that I was going to be a millionaire businessman. Yeah, okay, that didn't quite happen. But so I ended up playing for Paul Evans, which was quite different than playing for Coach Welsh. I don't know if you guys remember Paul. I'm guessing you probably do.
Yeah.
But, that was challenging playing for Paul Evans after Jerry. So, but I've been lucky because despite that, to this day, every time I've won anything, Welsh has called me when he sends his packets of information out to his players that are coaches now. He includes me in it. You know, I feel blessed that despite having transferred, at the end of the day, I feel like one of his guys, and I consider him one of my main mentors and guys in my life. So, well, on the other hand, well, that was an interesting story. We'll save that for another night.
Always
I didn't.
that camp was always filled with something. Do you remember, Mac, do you remember that Coach Welch put on like a mask or something? Do you remember that? There was kind of like,
Yeah.
He put on some mask, and then during the week of the camp, he kind of floated across the campus and through the, and everybody was kind of, you could see him in the periphery, and you wondered, what is with that guy? It was just kind of a mask. and then the rumor just spread that there was some guy out there, some weird guy out there that, you got to be careful. And he just did it in the background and just kind of walked. Was that you? You remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. He'd get fired for doing that in today's world. We actually, I don't even know if you know this, Doc. When we went back, because you were still, it might have been when you were in the Israel, doing your Israel gig, or I can't really remember. Maybe you were working, but when I went back and coached, he did that one year. We figured out where he was hiding the outfit, and we stole it, borrowed it. And Friday night reception at, I can't remember, one of the bars downtown with wings and pizza and some cold beverages. You remember? Did you? So I stole it. I was with Rick. Rick and I stole it. Rick Carlisle, and I'm the same size as Jerry, so I got all dressed up like he did and put that on. I had the sports coat. We had his sports coat. He had all of it was hidden in his office. And we walked in. His jaw dropped. About. There's somebody else come walking in. I walked around. I shook everybody's hand. I turned around. Was it Nixon? Like a big head Nixon?
Yeah. Maybe
It might have been, or I think that's what it was. I can't really remember. His jaw dropped. He had no idea. Like he couldn't. He finally figured it out. I think because I'm about the same height as him. Well, we had so much fun with that.
Yeah. But that camp was great because you just, again, like I said before, you got to meet the other kids in the North Country, and Kevin O'Neill and guys from Plattsburgh. We became good friends with the guys from Plattsburgh, and still good friends with the guys from Plattsburgh. And the whole North Country was there, and you got to see everybody play, and that made you really want to get better and compete against them. And I don't think we played as a team either. It was, you were split up. We didn't play on each other's team. You were split up.
No, we were all split up at the camp. We were all split up.
Which I think was a good thing. You got to play with other kids, and so, and the coaches were great, and so that was a lot of fun.
Well, it's interesting. Those guys that you thought you hated when you were in high school, like when you get to college, like Mike Sargent, we became great friends in college, and I hated him in high school. And he hated me. Mostly because we're the same. We hated to lose and we like to compete, and it's that that is one of the cool things about camps. That's one of the cool things. I mean, I'm not a huge AAU fan, but I do think the fact that kids get a chance to get out and play around and get to know, become good friends. Like my kids now, they know everybody. Like they know everybody in the area they play against. They've played against them in tournaments and AAU. It's a different thing. It's interesting. But those were great days. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Did you guys, when you went to camp, I know Dave and I and Joey, we're all about the same age, but we all went to that camp. Was there an over influx of Canadians back then that came over too? Because we had quite a few. Was there?
I don't remember. I think we were before that. I don't know. At least I don't remember anybody.
Well, it might have been when I guess I could get, it could be whether I was coaching at the time, but there started to become either near the end of our high school career or somewhere in my early coaching career, there started to be a lot of Canadian kids coming over. Well, eventually became the Can-Am camp, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the numbers are astronomical now. What was funny, what Al said before about the schedule, it was pretty cool because everybody got a schedule of where they're supposed to be, their team was supposed to be. And I remember, just like Hal said, 8-10, tennis courts out back, hand dribbling skills. I remember,
Yeah.
I remember that. That's funny. And I remember I used to be pretty damn good at the spider drill. And I don't think I could even attempt it. I don't even think I could try to attempt it now. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I probably hurt
It's
myself.
still one of the favorite drills the kids do. Good for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When we were growing up, Mike Dean always did the ball handling. Right, Hal?
Mike Dean.
Yeah.
Mike Dean did the ball handling drills.
Mike Dean down in the ice arena. Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And that, I guess, brings up another thing. I mean, that's kind of where, I mean, as you go through your high school career and college, you know, you meet people along the way that are your influences. And obviously, when my father took me to Clarkson Potsdam State game when I was like, I don't know, 7th or 8th grade, and he says, you got to see this kid play. And this kid, and it was Mike Dean. It was like his first, he had just transferred from Hobart.
Yep.
And I saw him play over at Clarkson, and I'm like, and he was just different, you know. I mean, the way he played and his attitude and that kind of stuff. And so my father would always bring me to, or try to get me to play with better players and you know, older. And so he was coaching at Potsdam, so he'd always have me work with you know, Mike and the players at that time. And Mike was very good, and you know, helped me out, you know, work on moves and things like that. And I actually spent a weekend at his house downstate, and just to work on skills. And so then he would come over and we'd play. And the Potsdam guys, you guys seen Kurt Barney anywhere? I've been looking for Kurt Barney. Anybody seen him? Anybody know him? Kurt Barney, if you're out there, call me.
I know Kurt.
And Mike Bissonette. Anybody seen Mike Bissonette? No. Those are two. Andre Kraft. Do those names ring a bell? Anybody? No.
Wait, I'm thinking of the Truax brothers. That was St. Lawrence Central, wasn't it?
Truax. Yeah, I think so. Right?
The Truax brothers. What was the? There was one really good football player.
Rod.
Oh.
Yes, I mean they're all good athletes. Rod, yes, and I remember Coach Riggs grabbed me by the. I was a sophomore. He was a senior. Your job is to shut him down. Do you hear me? Yes, yes, Coach. He was really good. I'm pretty sure he shut me down. 10th grade. Yeah, great. Thanks. Truax brothers.
But Hal, you were just Hal, were you getting ready to mention Steve Smith?
Yeah, Steve Smith was. He went down to camp with us at Toby Hanna one summer, and it's funny because I think we mentioned it before. Maybe we talked about it, but we spent 1 week with him, and it's just like we've known each other. I don't know what it is about sports, you know. Kind of, you know, if you got somebody that's a good athlete, and you just kind of hit it off. And that week we just you know, we spent the week together, and it seemed like we were known each other forever, you know. Or if he was at Canton High School, he would have just fit right in, you know. And I actually tracked him down and called him about a couple months ago. And he hung up. No, I mean, no, it was a nice conversation. But it was like, you know, it was just, it was, you know, just, it was like yesterday, you know. And he was just a great guy. And I just remember, you know, again, if he had been Ken, he would have been, you know, we would have been good friends and stuff. But so a lot of good players in the North Country.
Absolutely.
And which brings us to.
He really grew up in an unbelievable time.
Yeah, which brings us to Rick Carlisle. We should probably mention Rick if Mac, he may need a job if in the future.
I could use one that pays better.
Yeah. So that was the other thing about Canton.
I've been waiting for Rick to offer me a job for a really long time now.
No, but I think also we I don't know about you guys, but we always had the ability to get into the gym, which I don't know if it was commonplace around the North Country. Maybe you could, but we always seemed to be able to get into the gym.
Oh, yeah.
And that
We
brought,
weren't supposed to.
and, well, yeah, I think we weren't supposed to, but it seems like people kind of knew. And but that brought everybody. Rick Carlisle would come over, Mr. Carlisle, and his brother Billy would come over, and you get guys from Ogdensburg and Governor and Potsdam and kids from ATC and St. Lawrence, and then you get the old. We were very fortunate. We had a good group of Doug Huntley, Larry Hazen, and also Eddie Yankitis wanted me to make sure that I get his name in here. Eddie Yankitis, Dr. Y.
Dr. Y, hit the bar, restaurant, make sure you buy his Christmas trees.
But that, through our high school career was, also another, driving force because, playing against Doug Huntley and Larry Hazen and, these guys were like, we were 8th graders, they were seniors, and now they were going on to college and they were coming back. And so we had a good group to follow and just like Maxie became the mecca of basketball tournaments at the end of the year. Canton ATC back when we were in that grade, was the place where they had the playoffs, and that just left a big impression on me. We saw Canton play against. That's where I think to me the rivalry. And I'm sure maybe it was a rivalry before that, but I think our biggest rivals obviously were Potsdam and Ogdensburg. We never wanted to lose to Potsdam, but we really did not like that Ogdensburg group. At least we didn't know them, but until we got to know them a little better. But we saw them play at Canton ATC, and I don't know, we were 8th graders or something. It was so packed.
Yeah, 8th grade.
We had to sit on the floor on the gym. We were like, just out of bounds on the out of bounds line, and to see Canton win that game, I think they won by 1 or 2. A very close game, and just to see, you wanted to be part of that, and so for me that was a big moment to want to be involved in something like that. But
I think that had a huge impact on all of us. We were lucky to play in front of. I mean, our 3 years that Hal and I played for Coach Hourahan. I mean, almost everywhere we went was a packed house. It was really something. I don't know if they still get that kind of following up in the North Country, but it was really it was one special time.
Yeah, if you watch the Hoosiers,
maybe think of something.
Hoosiers show
so much I forgot my thought.
When you watch the Hoosiers movie, it always kind of remind me of that, where the team, it was always packed. I remember we played Ogdensburg one game, and I got there. So whenever and I think Mac did the same thing. Before every game, I would go down to the middle school and shoot, 100 shots or something before our game. Before we even played. And I came in to shoot early, and I walked by the gym. The gym was packed for the JV game. And they had to set up remote, this was before this stuff was even commonplace. We set up the auditorium to have a TV set in there to tape the game or watch the game. So people were in the auditorium watching this game. But it just felt like, then we got to, obviously our senior year was the culmination of all those years of hard work together. And everybody, we were very fortunate to keep moving along in the playoffs and then finally winning everything that year. And but just seemed like the buses traveling to the games and the cars behind them and that whole thing. And so that was really special. That senior year was a really special year. And I got Jim Ferguson. He's probably watching tonight, and he told me to make sure I mention that. The best, I always tell everybody, the greatest moment of my career, again, why is he laughing? The greatest moment of my career, either high school, college, whatever, any other game I ever played, was Jim Ferguson making the last second shot against Ogdensburg at Maxey Hall our senior year to win the Class A title. And we were on the ropes. We were on the ropes. They're about to lose, and we were very fortunate. There was a missed one-on-one with 7 seconds to go, and Jim Ferguson, who was the unsung hero over all the years, the calming influence, and just a special moment to have him make that shot, and just why is he laughing?
A little different. I think I recall the only reason you passed it was because 4 people were guarding you.
Okay.
And Ferg did deserve to get that basket. He was wide open to the basket. He thought you were going to shoot it too. But you were at half court.
Yeah, but
and he did travel. And he did make the layup.
Yeah, but the celebration, the pure, joy. That moment, you can't. It only happens maybe once or twice in your lifetime, and that was just unbelievable.
Yeah. It was magical. It was a magical night.
So, I'd be remiss. We have about a half hour left, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a couple things about you guys. Hal. So we'll go with Hal first, and then I'll come back to Coach. Section 10 boy makes it big in Syracuse, but people want to hear the free throw story from your mouth. I read about it. I heard about it through everybody, but I need to hear it from your mouth because there's certain stories out there, so I want to make sure I get it right from the horse's mouth.
Well, you know how many different numbers we've heard?
Yeah. And how it progressed and how it took place, and so
it was only 7. No.
Yeah.
This is how I remember it. We after practice we always shot 25 foul. Coach Harahan would say, okay, shoot your 25 and then go home, and then he'd take off and go to the go to shower and do he'd start leaving. And he and I, Coach Harahan and I, were supposed to go to my father's game that night over at Maxie, and so we had to. So I shot my 25 and I made the 25th shot. And we had this kind of unwritten rule that if you made the 25th shot, you shoot. We always say, okay, shoot till you miss. If you make the last shot, just shoot till you miss. And I don't know. So I just started shooting, and they kept going in. And a couple of things I do remember is, it was after practice and people were running around throwing balls at each other and, chasing each other around. And I was just kind of shooting. And I think I had maybe 3 or 4 people rebounding, over this time period. So I just
started, Doc.
What's that?
I started as your first rebounder, but after about 20, I said, I think I'm going to just go shoot myself. I had done that enough to know I wasn't shots up if he was taking the foul shots first.
Well, see, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then who took over?
Yeah, you were mad when I opted out because you were on a streak.
Okay. So then I started making them, and then I don't know, I just kept shooting, and then my arm just got stuck, and I just kept. And I think what happened was I normally take 3 dribbles and then shoot. And then I think as I was going along, I just kind of then caught it and then ended up shooting it. And, I just kept making them. And then a couple of side stories are one, Coach Harahan kept coming back to say, okay, we got to get going. And then Mac would say something. What'd you say to him, Mac? What'd you say to Coach Harahan?
Coach, he's got like a world record streak going here. Maybe we should let him be going.
Well, I think the thing is I had no clue that was a record. So I guess I wasn't really thinking about that. So I just kept shooting, and it kept going in, and Coach Harahan kept coming up, and then you could hear the door open, and then I could feel people behind me, but I couldn't see them. And then, the kids, it was the late, waiting for the late bus. And so apparently the bus drivers they didn't have all the students in their buses. They came into the gym to find out what was going on. And then they stayed. So then the bus drivers were in there and the kids were in there. And I think we had about, 75 to 100 people there or something.
Yeah, there was more, probably over 100 to 150. All the night buses, everybody came in the gym and everybody was watching. Hal didn't even realize. I stopped shooting because I had to watch too at that point because it was getting a little bit crazy.
And I do. I don't know if this is a true story, but Con Elliott, I don't know if this is a true story. I'd like to know if this was, but somebody called the radio station, WPDM, and said, "Hey, where are all our kids?" And somehow it got to Con Elliott, and somehow I don't know if this is true or not. He then took, he came over after that and then drove to the gym, and I don't know if that's legend or if he actually was there or not, but.
Well, we went on the show the next day.
Yeah, we went on
a con show the next day.
Yeah. So I ended up making 598, and I didn't really think much. I mean, I thought that was a lot, but I had no idea. Man, I figured if I could do it, somebody else must be able to do this. So,
just a couple. It was easy.
Well, no. Then so I went to the game. I went home, got my mother, and I never said anything to her about it. And I just went to the game. We went to the game, and then that was it. And the next day, I came to school and I saw Mr. Molnar, our principal, and then I thought, oh, what's going on here? And so he took everybody's name and who was there, and wanted to document that and so that was that. And they tried. I think they tried to it was never in the Guinness. Everybody keeps saying it was in the Guinness book. It was never in the Guinness Book of World Records because they wrote. I think maybe my father wrote to them and said, he made this number of. Well, that's what we found out. We had a book. I don't know if there's this thing where they have all these books called libraries in schools. I don't know if you remember that. Somebody went upstairs and got some book that said Bunny Levitt had made a world record of 499, and then they wrote to them. They said, well, because we didn't have a representative there, we can't accept it or something like that. But the Basketball Hall of Fame took the basketball and a picture of Coach Howard and I, and so that was in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story.
I don't think I've made 598 free throws in my high school and college career altogether.
So
it was a great. It was really fun.
I've always read about it. I've always heard about it. I said, well, I'm going to ask right to the horse's mouth tonight. But on the other side, we're going to go to Coach. Hal came up too short of 600, but you have it. This past year, you actually had your 600th win as a coach. Congratulations, Coach. I wish. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, thank you. I think we summed it up early. I was blessed to grow up with, such great mentors in the game and just, I think guys that knew how to care about their kids and motivate and teach the game and then you have to have good players. There's so many great coaches all over the place. I was lucky enough to be in a situation where, I had a run of guys that all played from, went on to Syracuse and big schools. And, so my job through that era was really not to mess anything up. I learned enough from Coach Howard, and I think to care for them and try to be a good motivator and let the great players make plays. And so I've been blessed. I feel blessed. And it all started with the foundation of people in my life when I was young. So, we beat Buddy Wiklinski, who was one of my arch rivals and good friends down here in Syracuse in his building. And, he had just won his 500th the night before or a couple nights before the game before. And, you know, although I think I'd probably trade that in for the semifinals when he beat me. I'd give that game back to win the semifinals and had a shot at that red school. What were they? Janesville DeWitt there in the finals. But you know, but it was a special night. It was a lot of fun, and you know, my kids at Grimes they wanted it so badly for me. They wanted so badly to be the team to do it, and you know, those are the great memories. I think, you know, when you see the reactions of the kids, and you know, it was a fun night. I've been lucky.
Quite a write-up on it. I saw it there with a banner too. The kids really had a good night that night. It looks like it was really celebrated.
Yeah, it was a fun night, and you know, I was lucky. My girls were there. Two of my girls were there. One of my girls was with their fiance in Chicago. How did that happen, Doc? How do our kids get married and stuff? How did that happen? You know, so yeah, you know, just it was fun, and you know, Bishop Grimes been good to me. He was so good to me, you know, after the transition from JD, and you know, it was a special night, and you know, the BG community was there in full force supporting, and you know, that, you know, kind of like what we went through in high school with the following. When you get that kind of support, it really makes it that much more special.
Well, can I say something, Mac?
Yes, Doc.
I've been very fortunate to watch you coach over the years, and you know, outside of my father and Coach Howard and Coach Welsh, you were right there with them in terms of coaching. And no, I mean, I watched him hours and hours. I mean, the hours with the kids, and I think that's where we got that from Coach Harian too. You know, just being with the kids in the gym constantly, opening the gym and play. And Magus, you know, we crisscrossed in terms of ability about 5 years after graduation, or maybe even before that. Mac was like the go-to guy for our rec league team in Syracuse, and but he's just a phenomenal X and O guy. But more importantly, he's a father figure to these kids, and I mean, how many kids have played for Coach Boeheim, Mac? You had Brandon and Andy, and who else did you have? Daywan and
Tyler played for the Hawks, and
yeah, he's had such a great group.
Man, I should have won some games. Heck.
Yeah, but there's the dedication of Mac with these kids is just. I mean, that's what it takes, and that's what he loves. So. He's just a phenomenal coach. No matter, I mean, he went from a team when he was at Bishop Grimes who was won 7 games like the year before and took them to the Final Four the next year. So you know, a whole new group, and so.
Do you guys? You know, we've listened now for about an hour, and it's so obvious how tight you guys were growing up. But you know, I find it amazing that you guys left the Canton area and both ended up in the greater Syracuse area and have continued this friendship on for all these years, as close as you are. Do you find that, you know, it just is kind of crazy to me that you guys ended up both in the same area after leaving Canton?
Yeah. Well, our other great friend Jim Ferguson is in Syracuse, and another one of our great friends that was a teammate, Brock Elmore. You know, that, I guess that's God's grace. You know, we all ended up here. We were meant to end up together. It's kind of funny. I think everybody knew I was going the coaching route. They would have preferred Hal to come back and coach at Canton, but I think that in coaching, I was kind of going to be the successor, you know, and I always sensed a little disappointment from our crew of guys and Smittles and coach, but it just sometimes time, or, you know, just circumstances and timing has to be right for things like that to work. And I ended up going to Vermont initially because Doug Huntley, who was our kind of one of the Doug and Larry, the guys in front of us that Hal talked about, that we kind of, you know, we wanted to be like them. And he called Coach Harahan and said, we're looking for an English teacher and a phys ed teacher and a basketball coach. And I had just gotten married to my high school sweetheart. She was an English teacher and I was a phys ed teacher and a basketball coach. And, you know, a week later through coach, we're up in Milton, Vermont, and I'm teaching and coaching, and she's the English teacher. So, you know, and then when I was transitioning to Syracuse, Coach had already gotten out, and it was such an interesting timing thing. But there's a little part of me that was always sad that I didn't come back and end up at the high school. I'm not going to lie. I've always Kent will always be home. I do miss it. So, but yeah.
Well, now I got to tell
And
the
then
story.
down here, it's just everywhere I've gone. I'll just interrupt Hal and let you go. But
Yeah, thanks a lot.
home games, I look up. There's Hal. There's Ferg. Sometimes their wives are with them. Often it's just down for getting out for the night. Brock's there. Brock coached with me for 5 or 6 years. So it, that's another area where I feel very blessed in my lifetime that the guys were always there supporting me no matter what. So yeah,
Well,
we have been best friends now, and I think we always will be. I'm a little ticked he moved to North Carolina, though. I'm still trying. I don't know who was more upset, his mother or me. I think we both cried.
I'm only 12 hours to get to your game. Only 12 hours to get to your game. Well, I gotta tell the story how you got so anyway, Coach McKenney comes down and to visit in Syracuse, and so we go to this gym to play basketball, and there's this eighth grader who's a pretty good player, and we're like, wow, this kid's pretty good. And we say, hey, where do you go to high school? He goes, Janesville DeWitt. And I said, oh, who's your coach? He goes, we don't have one. And I said, what do you mean? Our coach just resigned or something? I said, oh, geez. This guy's Coach McKenney's an excellent coach. He was at Vermont at that time. And he goes, oh, yeah, my dad's on the board, on the selection committee. And they're going to pick, I think, they had somebody in mind or something at that time. And I said, geez, have they finalized this yet? And I said, no. I said, oh, well, let me call him. And, so we talked to his father, and the father then talks to the athletic director. And then the next day, the athletic director gets a call from Rick Carlisle, Jerry Welsh, Leo Routens, whose kids were in the district, who wanted his kids to play, and me, and then also the athletic director's getting calls from all these people. Like, what?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'd not gotten any NBA coaching calls from calls from coaches in the NBA before.
Yeah. So he said, well, it was not official yet, and then so I think they had a change of heart. What do you think, Mac?
Well, I like to thought, I always thought it was my great interviewing skills, but as it turns out, I find out all these people had called. I realized I had nothing to do with my interviewing skills to get the job.
And the rest is history.
Not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Although that first year, Mac, we were all a little worried when he had more technical fouls than wins. And then but then it took
Yes,
off.
I did. I'm pretty sure the AD mentioned that in our postseason review. Yeah, that's very accurate. Very accurate.
So yeah, it was great. Our families and Mac's family and Ferg's families
what
and
happened?
Brock's families growing up together. I mean, continuing on after that, and still now.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
You broke up for a minute
guys,
there, Doc. I'm sorry.
What's it? Go ahead.
well, I mean, I'm running out of things that I'd like to have you cover, but with about 10 minutes left to go, I'll give you a chance to recruit a little bit for your daughter Brittany.
Yeah.
And we had such a great time interviewing her, and Pete and Dave and I all came across. We interviewed Brittany and we interviewed Coach Bechtel.
Yeah.
Within a 2-week period, and we really think that SUNY Potsdam basketball is in the best hands it's been in quite some time. We really were impressed with both of them.
Yeah, Brittany's got a lot of my father in her in terms of her personality and her basketball knowledge, and she's just, just like I have 4 daughters: Stephanie, Allison, Brittany. What was the last one, Mac? Oh yeah, Jessica. That's right.
Yes, yeah. I got you, Doc.
And No, she's done a fabulous job there, and she reminds me again a lot of my father and her. I mean, coaching she's doing great. It's just her relationship I see with her players and her love for the game, and if I was a basketball player in the North Country or wherever, I'd want to play for her. You know what I mean? She's just she's just a good. I watch her in her interaction.
Good pitch, Doc. Let's go.
Let's go. So I think the program's in good shape. Hopefully they get to play this year. And also Jim Bechtel, has done a phenomenal job. And what I like about him is those two work together. I mean, they talk about, basketball all the time and how to recruit, how to make things better. And so that's a nice relationship to be able to, with the men and women's coaches, working together. And he's just he's a great guy. And, I think, like you said, hope, the future is bright for Potsdam. And if you're in the North Country and you're 6 foot tall, I think Potsdam is the place to be. You don't have to be 6 foot. If you can play the game and love the game, I think, Potsdam would be a great play. And over the years, my father always told me he had the opportunity to go to other places, but I don't know what, he loved the Potsdam State kids. I don't know what it was. He loved the kids. He loved the people that coached, who they recruited, and that was the best years of his life was when he was at Potsdam. So, and people I've talked to and who have gone there have really enjoyed Potsdam State. So go to Potsdam. We need you.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I know we're getting ready to wind down here. Both Hal and Bob. Bob, being a coach and member of BCA-NY for pushing 20 years now, I know I had a ball watching your teams play. Always enjoyed it. Loved watching you on the sideline. Always enjoyed those double A or A championship games on a Sunday afternoon. I'd had too much in Glens Falls, and I'd have to get home to be able to watch your game. I couldn't stay another day to watch your game. So, and Hal, as a North Country coach myself, I've had the pleasure of having a couple of kids that were nominated for the Joukowsky, to be able to stand next to that plaque and you being on that plaque. I mean, you two epitomize North Country basketball to us in everything that you've done, and we can't thank you enough for coming on here with us and sharing these stories. This has been a blast, an absolute blast having you two guys on, and we can't thank you enough.
It gave me goosebumps. What?
I thought this was just part one. I thought we got three segments.
Oh, well, hey, you can come back as often as you want.
We haven't even gotten to the championship, baby, Doc.
That's right.
I didn't even get to my golf, our high school golf stories. With Mary
That
Lawrence.
won't take us long.
Kathy Lawrence is our top player.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You played with Mary Lawrence's sister, Kathy, right?
Right. Well, we never played. We didn't make the top 5.
No.
But I remember we got to go.
We were left on the sideline for Mary's game, for Mary's force.
We got to play. We got to practice for free out at St. Lawrence, so that was good. But Mr. Jones, I better get Mr. Jones in there.
Oh yeah.
Danny Jones.
Danny Jones.
Danny Jones.
Yeah, it was just a great group.
No, one of the best, man. Yep.
And didn't they seem like they were old at that time, Mac? And then we learned that they were like 28 when they were, when they were our teachers,
Hey, Denny's still helping out with Mandard Waddington with his son Aaron.
Yeah,
He's
I know.
still helping out.
Yeah, he brought his grandson over. He lives like 2 houses from my mother, and his son. And so I was home one day, and I think he saw my car, and got in his car and drove his grandson over to in the house to work on a shooting. But,
How old was he?
well, I think I owed him some money for the hat, for our golf hat, and I never got around to paying it for it. So now we're even.
No, how old was the grandson?
What's that?
How old was the grandson? Not Mr. Jones.
Oh, I think he's like 2. No, I think he was
Yeah, that figures.
7th. I think he's 7th and 8th grade or something like that.
Okay.
Well, gentlemen, I hope I didn't want this to come to an end because it's been a quick hour and a half, but our time has run out. But I will open invitation. You guys are more than welcome upon any time on our show. We really appreciate you coming on.
I think we got to get Coach Howard in here with us.
Absolutely.
That would be fun. Anytime you got a hold of Phil, don't hesitate to call either one of us.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I apologize. My internet kept saying your internet stinks. I'm like, I can see that.
It happens.
We know about bad internet. Trust me. So, Joey, you
He's
got
always squinting. I was trying to follow questions. It sounded like they were in really slow motion.
Oh, we are. We're from the North Country. Everything's slow.
Oh,
Well, we are too.
Joey, you got to work on this 6-way then with Coach
I
Howard.
will, as soon as we're done, I'm telling Coach Howerhand that, because I've kept it a secret from him. I didn't let him know that you two were coming on. So I will let him know tonight.
We'll be getting a text later, I'm sure.
I'm sure you
Tell
will.
that for not letting him know.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for tonight. So thanks a lot for coming on.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much for having us. That was fun.
Yep.
A lot of fun.
That's it from ESS, Empire State Sports and the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Joey Reholm, Dave Bartlett, myself, and our special guests, Dr. Hal Cohen and Coach Bob McKenney. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody, and stay safe.
Thank you.